Alright, it's a Sunday morning before football. Hope to check out a couple of yard sales, garage sales. And I've got a guest with me. You ready to find some video games, Sophie?
Yes, I'm ready to go game chasing.
Alright, let's do it. Hey, how's it going? Got another pickup video for you. I've actually filmed this ahead of time to actually catch up with myself here on pickups, so hopefully there won't be as big of a delay in between videos, at least at this time. But I've got some good Super Nintendo games I picked up, a great Gamecube pickup, and a couple PS2, DS stuff, so here we go. The first thing is actually not a game at all. It is the soundtrack. This was at a thrift store, but it's the Persona soundtrack. And just from reading the flap here, I think it's from the re-release on the PSP, if I'm correct on that. But anyway, I haven't listened to it yet, but I thought it was pretty cool to find a soundtrack to an RPG, to a Shin Megami game, so I thought that was kind of cool. It was a quarter, so certainly wasn't a big deal. Next is from a pawn store. I paid $2 for this. This is a PlayStation 2 game, and it is Klonoa 2 Lunate's Veil, something like that. Anyway, this is the first Klonoa game I have physically seen. They're supposed to be a lot of fun. I think there's one on the Wii, there's one on the PlayStation 1. So they're supposed to be a lot of fun though, so I'm actually can't wait to check this one out. Next is from the thrift store on base. I tried to check that place at least once every couple of weeks, but after finding this, I probably should be going at least once a week. All their games are $3 a piece, and normally that's a little too high for me because they've got like a pretty good selection of GameCube games. Nothing like great because I would have picked them up, but they probably have like 20 GameCube games. But at $3 a piece, they're just a little too much for just common weird stuff. So, but today they had a few stuff I did want for the Xbox, which I don't collect for, but I thought at $3 these were too good to pass up. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic, even though it's Game of the Year edition or Platinum Hits edition, and its sequel, Knights of the Old Republic 2. I thought that was pretty cool. I've only seen a couple of copies of this, so it's cool to find that again for $3. Those I'll probably just trade off. Next, though, at the same thrift store here was some GameCube games. Again, these were $3 a piece. Pokemon Coliseum, which I already have. I got to make sure that mine is complete, but this one is. I thought this was cool. The Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc, which I have never seen before. I think it's complete. It has I thought that was a manual. It might just be something different. But anyway, I had never seen the bonus disc thing before, so I know I didn't have that. But the best thing that I found there was Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. And this is complete. So I'm very happy to find that. This is my first Fire Emblem game, so I do want to check this one out and try it out. So very cool to find a Fire Emblem game for $3. Next is, or lastly I guess, is the Super Nintendo lot. This is all from a pawn store, and I went in and the only thing I was going to buy was God of War for the PS2. I was just looking for an upgrade for mine. Mine's Greatest Hits, and this one's complete too. So, but I just kind of got talking to the clerk there, and I asked if they had any DS games, which is what I normally do. And they had about 200 in bags, in these gallon Ziploc bags. Mostly a bunch of crap, but I did pick out Bomberman Land Touch for the DS here, and just the Bomberman games are fun, and I didn't even know they had a DS one, so, and this one is also an Atlas title. I know you probably can't see that, but anyway, so for $2, I figured I would pick this one up. Just talking with the lady, found out she's a big fan of, sorry, the cat's bugging me here. She's a big fan of the Rune Factory and Harvest Moon games. So just chatting with her, told her that, I collected older video games, stuff like that. And she's like, oh, well, we've got some Super Nintendo games. You want to take a look at them? And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course, sure. So she brings out 2 tubs full. And there is 28 games in here. And there's a couple 64 games, too. And I didn't want to look too deeply at them because I didn't want her to think that like I'd found something super great. But I just off the top I said, would you do $20 for everything, including the games I found, God of War and the DS game and stuff. and she kind of did a count, and she told me she would do $35 for everything. Originally, she wanted to do $1.50 a game, and I told her that I would do $30 even for everything. So with tax, came to like $32 or something. So $30 came out with a bunch of stuff, and hidden underneath these games, the games were just sitting on it, was a Mario Kart DS game. I didn't even know that was in there. So that was just a nice little surprise. But the games they're pretty decent. Nothing super spectacular. No Turtles in Time or anything like that. But did get, I'll go through these kind of quickly. 2 copies of Mario Paint. Not sure why. 2 copies of Super Mario World. I'm not sure why, but that's actually a good find. Killer Instinct. Baseball 2000, which I've never played or heard of. And they're falling around me here. Kirby's Avalanche, that's a pretty good find. I believe I have this already, so that might be a duplicate. Chester Cheetah, Wild Wild Quest. Urban Strike. I remember these games are pretty fun. A couple wrestling games, nothing impressive. WrestleMania, the arcade game, and Super WrestleMania. I think I traded this already to, I don't remember now. Sorry, cut that out. To Brenda. It was Brenda. Sorry, Brenda. Next we got Mario Kart. Awesome game. Super Tennis. Not sure. Olympic Summer Games. I probably won't play this, but I will say the International Track and Field 2000 on the 64 is a lot of fun. It's a lot of button mashing, but it's fun. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which I actually traded this off a long time ago to Brendan Olson. So I'm glad to actually find this one again. Top Gear, Full Throttle, some better ones here. Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest, Mario All-Stars, Yoshi's Island. I didn't really get into this game. I have it already, but I didn't really get into it. Original Donkey Kong Country, and Tetris and Dr. Mario for the Super Nintendo, right. So that's kind of cool to find. My wife and I love Dr. Mario, so we'll definitely give the Super Nintendo one a try. And then for the 64 games, again, nothing super special here. We got A Bug's Life, Beetle Adventure Racing, which I've heard actually is pretty fun. I didn't have this one yet. Dark Rift, which I do have, I believe. And then probably the best one in here is a copy of Pokemon Stadium, which I already have. So $30 for all that. I didn't think it was a bad deal at all. It's like some good Super Nintendo games, some quality titles there with the Donkey Kong Countries, Mario Kart, stuff like that. The Bomberman I thought would be fun to play. God of War, like I said, I was just upgrading my greatest hits. But definitely my favorite find of this week will be the Fire Emblem, and I can't wait to play this. So thanks again for tuning in, and hopefully I find some great stuff for the next video. Thanks. Well, I almost picked up an Atari Lynx. The guy was asking 15 or 20 for it, but it was just the system, and he had California games in it. He said he had a bunch of other games that he couldn't find, but it really wasn't that great a condition, and I was only going to buy it just to resell it, so I didn't want to pay 15, 20 anyway, but he was a nice guy. But, Sophie, what did you find?
I found ponies.
You did find ponies, you're right. Who did you have there?
Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Twilight Sparkle.
Well, at least somebody's finding stuff.